Hello and welcome to my channel, Talisman Tarot. In this reading I want to ask the cards and Spirit directly through channeling what your self-image is like, and how other people perceive you, and how your self-image is different from how other people perceive you. So that's basically it, and I have 6 groups here for you. This will be group number 1, this will be group number 2, this will be group number 3, this will be group number 4, this will be group number 5, and this will be group number 6. And so I will ask you to use your intuition and choose the right group for you, the group that speaks to you the most, the group that catches your eye. And if you need more time to decide, you can pause the video, but if you don't, I'll just move on to the reading. Hello, group number 1. You chose this pyrite, and I will start with a channeled message or channeled information about this, and then I will draw some cards for you. So I want to channel some information about your own self-image, and I think some of you might feel like you are maybe old souls, and maybe you have always felt this way. Some of you might also feel like you were born in the wrong time era, that you should have been born in like the 18th century or something. Maybe many of you are like fascinated by the 18th century, and like maybe especially 18th century literature and philosophy. Some of you might be reading Faust right now, by Goethe, and so some of you might just be into some like 18th century or 19th century German writers. Some of you might also be into like Wagner right now, maybe especially the Ring cycle. So I think you might just like, you might feel like everything was a bit better in the 18th or 19th century, that this century sucks and will never be like as good as like the romantic era. So I think you might feel like you don't belong in this time, that you don't understand the pop culture and the TikTok trends, and like I think some of you might feel like you're getting too old for a lot of things. Like some of you might feel like you are like slowly becoming like this grumpy old man or woman who like yells at like all the youngsters to get off your property. Like I think some of you feel like you don't have much in common with the people your age. You might also feel like you don't have anything in. Hey, okay, so some of you might feel like you don't have anything in common with your gender as well. So like if you are a female, I think you might feel like it's hard to find other females who have the same hobbies and interests as you. So you might have some interests that are considered more masculine, like, well, maybe some of you study something where the majority of the students are males. And I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but like those fields are like commonly like mathematics, engineering, technology, stuff like that. And it's not because females can't do those things, it's just the majority is often males in those fields. So maybe you feel like but this could also just be that you feel like you are that you have more in common with males. You could also be in the police force or studying to become a police officer. So if you are females, you might feel like you're more masculine on the inside than you are on the outside. Some of you might have grown up without a father figure, so you might not have had any male role models. So you might have had to find male role models or become one yourself. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like maybe you found like some male role models in literature and philosophy and music, maybe even religion. Some of you might have turned to religion to find a male role model in the form of the Almighty Father, you know? Like, so I don't know if that makes sense, but like I think some of you might have like a kind of a complicated relationship with your dad. Maybe some of you have lost your dad. Maybe some of you have been like abandoned by your dad. Some of you might have had a neglective or abusive dad, and I think this has caused you to search for positive role models, like positive male role models, but this search might have actually formed your identity a bit. Like if you have searched for a male role model in literature and philosophy, like and religion, these are all things that we typically use to define ourselves. Like if we were to describe ourselves to a stranger, we would probably talk about our like what books we like to read and what we believe in and stuff like that. So I don't know. Sorry. So like I think so some of you might have been like have felt like you were actually born in the wrong gender, and I'm not saying that you weren't though. I say that one of you are actually transgendered and maybe even in the middle of transitioning right now. And for you, I want to say that you should listen to what I just said. That message is only for people who are more or less confused by their assigned gender, and for them I wanted to like deliver this message about why that confusion might be there. And I don't think I actually did a very good job explaining that, because I have no answers really. This was just I don't know. I don't even know if all this made any sense at all. Like, but so like I don't want to confuse people who are not confused. So like if you feel like you were born in the wrong body, like that's probably true. So, but I can't say though. Like, so I just wanted to clarify that. I don't know if I did though. But like, yeah. So, but let's move on from that. I also think there might be something here about something about how you always you might have wished that like when you were a child, you might have wished that you had like this superpower that you could possess someone for a day, and maybe this sounds really odd to some people, but I can relate to this because I had that wish when I was a child, and maybe I'm the only one, but it seems that I'm getting this message that you can relate to this. So, like I really wished I could borrow other people's body for just one day, or maybe especially borrow their eyes to see the world from their perspective. And I think that is essentially why I seem to have specialized in like in this topic as a tarot reader. Like it was always sort of my dream to do what I'm doing right now, like to make these readings on how other people perceive you guys, like because this was sort of my obsession as a child to be able to see the world from other people's perspective. And so I feel like you guys might be the same way, and I think that like if you are interested in reading tarot yourself, like I think you might want to try to specialize in that. But let's draw some cards. So 8 of bowls, 5 of pipes, the pierced shield. Okay, so I think this is about your self-image. I will draw some more cards for you about how other people perceive you. Now I want to focus on your self-image, and so with the 8 of bowls here, like you can see there's a man and a woman, and I think this symbolizes the masculine and the feminine side of you, and now these two sides of you seem to be looking up in the sky at this spirit or entity here up in the sky, and so this kind of tells me that the reason why you have maybe a prominent masculine side to you might actually be because an ancestor reincarnated in you. I don't know if you believe those in that sort of things, but like or maybe if you were named after your grandfather might have either reincarnated in you, or your grandfather might have been assigned to you as your guardian angel. Either way, I think this person has had a big impact on your identity. This could also be your father guiding you. So if your father is dead, maybe you have chosen the same profession that your father had, like to honor your father, or maybe your grandfather, or maybe some other ancestor. I don't know, but it doesn't have to be like Okay, so I think this ancestor, if there's a male ancestor here who might be guiding you, I think they want to finish their legacy. And I think the reason why they've chosen you to do that is because, and like, oh, I hate to say this, because like there's like a specific code that all psychics should follow, and like that you shouldn't deliver bad news, but this could indicate to me that some of you won't have any children, and so the bloodline might end with you guys. And that might be why this male ancestor has chosen some of you. This is a very specific message, so it might just resonate with one of you. But like, I think they've chosen you to finish this legacy, and they might have wanted a male. And now I will sound very sexist, but this is like old school, and this is maybe an ancestor who from many generations back when gender roles were very outdated, of course, because it was dated like many years ago. And so yeah, I think this so like if you maybe look up your family history, find out if there was something some of your one of your male ancestors were working on or studying or writing back at some point, and try to figure out if you can actually get your hands on that. But I don't know. But this card might just be indicating that your self-image is someone who's like that you see yourself as someone who's very intuitive, that you have like a very close connection to God. Like this could also be that. Like so like if you are Christians, you might have had like some experience as a child that revolved around the church. Maybe you went to like mass as a child, and you might have gotten like chills throughout your body from like the sound of the organ, and you might have felt like maybe you actually had like an experience where like God talked directly to you. Some of you might actually have had this experience, but you might have forgot about it until just now. And for those of you, I think this is a sign that you might need to get back in touch with your Christianity, or whatever. It could also be another religion, but like Christianity is coming in strong. But because like the 8, but it could be any religion though. But I get this strong sense that you need to get back to something that you left behind, because this is the 8 of bowls, which is 8 of cups, and it is a card that indicate that you might have had like a period away from your church or whatever, and maybe this period away has been good for you actually, because it might actually have made you connect more with your spirituality, but it might also have made you question your religion. So but I think this card is like an indication that you need to come back to your religion again, because now you can sort of combine those two. Like, now you can combine your religious beliefs with your spiritual beliefs and create like an even stronger connection to God. This like you need to make this what's it called, like equilibrium, and like you need a time away to be able to do that, like which is actually what like Moses did and like Muhammad did and Jesus did, and mostly anyone like in like everybody had like that period away from like their people, their followers, their church, where they realized something new about their own faith, and then they returned to their people and or their followers, and with like a much stronger sense of what they believed in. And I also think some of you might have you might have your moon sign in the 12th house, so maybe you are the type of people who need to go into like hermit mode sometimes. You might also be Virgos. Like, I think you will undergo many cycles in your life where you are very engaged in something and then you withdraw from it, and this is actually a good thing. I think you need to look at things from the outside to gain clarity on it. You need that outsider perspective. I don't think you like to be indoctrinated in anything. I think every time you feel comfortable or certain about something, you take a step back to reevaluate, to look at it like more clearly, to examine it and analyze it and come to conclusion about whether or not it's right for you. So I definitely think you are the type of person who likes to withdraw from society and go into your own little bubble for a while, just to get your mind made up. I think you might be the type of who can't think properly when around other people. I think you think much better when you are alone. You make better decisions when you're alone, and you might feel like you sometimes need to be alone to gain clarity on a certain situation. And I think you are introverts, but I think it comes in cycles. I think you have these periods where you are very, very social and very much putting yourself out there, and then you take like a step back in a period of time and completely close yourself off from the outside world. With the 5 of pipes here, this is kind of giving me like a few different vibes, so take what resonates. But you can see this picture here is of a woman playing on her flute, and this deer here is like coming towards her. This might indicate to me that you have this self-image that you are always the one who is contacting other people, that people rarely contact you, that you always need to be the one who calls or texts people. And I think you might feel a bit tired of that you are not a priority to people, but I think I don't think that's the case. I think people might just be, maybe even feel like they don't want to bother you. I don't know why they would get that idea though, but I don't think it's personal. This might also tell me that you actually have kind of high aspirations for yourself, because you are the one with the flute attracting things to you, and so you might feel like you can attract things quite easily to you. So maybe some of you are working with law of attraction or something, but I also think some of you feel like you will do something in the future where you will be kind of a first mover at something, that you will maybe do something that no one else has done before, that you will make some people dance to the beat of your drum. You won't be the one dancing to other people's drum, that you will do something that will move people in the future. Maybe some of you are writers. Yeah, so with the pierced sword, pierced shield here, I think you might feel like you are a bit damaged in some way. Maybe you have experienced a lot of trauma in your life, and maybe this is affecting your self-image. Maybe you feel like you won't ever find love because you are damaged, or that your trauma or PTSD will haunt you forever, that it also might be blocking you from actually allowing people to see the real you. Maybe you feel like you have this shield up, that you are guarded, that you don't allow people in, and maybe it is because of your past. Maybe some of you were bullied in school, and maybe you feel like this has just shaped your whole personality and made you socially anxious and awkward, and that you will never be as confident in social gatherings as you want to be. But it is very much like a self-esteem issue, and not at all a self-worth issue, which makes me kind of optimistic about your future, because I think you have plenty of self-worth. Deep down you know you are the shit, but it just frustrates you deeply that you can't freely show your true self to other people, especially since your true self is kind of awesome. And so I think this is deep down what frustrates you the most. It's not that you think there's anything wrong with you, that you aren't awesome, and that you feel like people are superior to you. It's nothing like that. It's just that your problem is that you can't show people how awesome you are, and people might tend to feel superior to you actually, and this bothers you because you know it's not true. You know they are wrong, but you can't prove them wrong, because proving them wrong requires that you actually speak up for yourself, and that's really hard if you have social anxiety. So but let's draw some more cards for you about how people perceive you. And so 2 of pipes, and 3 of arrows reversed. Okay, so I think with the 2 of pipes here, I think some people might see you as someone who smokes because this person smokes. So you might like smoke weed or something, but it could also just mean that people think you do, but it could also like be about how people maybe perceive you as kind of aloof. You might also be more of the quiet type, like you might be the type who sits at a table at a party and the people around you might be discussing things, but you might not really say that much. You might just laugh at people's jokes, but you're not really engaging in the conversation. You might also have a tendency to zone out when you are in a group of people, like you might just stare blankly into the room while you're actually thinking about 100 other things in your head. Like you might not be that present when you are social, and like you might feel like you are being that you are being social when you are at parties, like just because you are there, like, and like that might be a big step for you to just go out in general, but people might not see you as very social, even if you go to a lot of parties, and it's because like you might zone out and you might be more in your own thoughts, and you might not pay that close attention to your surroundings. And like I think you might have like tried to cover this up a few times. Like you might have zoned out at a dinner party, and then the whole table started laughing at some joke, and the sound of laughter like woke you up from your daydream, and then you would fake laugh at that joke as if you actually knew what the joke was about, but really you didn't, but you just didn't want to draw attention to yourself or let people know that you had actually completely zoned out and wasn't really a part of the conversation. So like I think people see you as a bit of a daydreamer. So with the 3 of arrows reversed, like I heard hopeless romantic, so maybe some of you don't have the best of luck when it comes to love, but some of you could also be like asexual. I don't know, but I think it's mostly that you don't have the best of luck when it comes to love, or maybe you also fall in love with the wrong people. I also think there's like something here about feeling about people feeling like you are rebelling against your dad. Maybe you are doing something that your father wouldn't approve of, and maybe people assume that you're doing this because you are trying to purposely make your dad mad. Maybe they also feel like you are letting your dad affect your decision making, and the reason why I'm saying this is because there's a spirit here, and the spirit could be like your dad, and it's like sort of like giving some guidance, but this card is reversed. Like it looks like this when it's upright, and it's reversed, and so maybe this is about something about you not taking advice from your parents, and maybe especially your dad, but also about you maybe letting your dad affect your decision making, and it doesn't matter if your dad is like this message is for all of you, even those, like, for those who still have a dad who's alive, and also those whose dad has passed away. And I think you might feel like you are like I think you're trying so hard to make sure that the loss of your dad, like for those of you who've lost your dad, doesn't affect your decision making, but in doing so you are actually letting your dad's death affect your decision making, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think for those of you who has a dad who you're just rebelling against, who is not dead, but who you might like have a complicated relationship with, I think you might let your I think people might see your decision making as affected by your complicated relationship with your dad in some way. It could also be that you choose some partners, or people feel like you choose some partners just to like get back at your dad or something, or maybe that you choose partners who actually are a bit like your dad. I don't know. But that's all I have for you, group number 1. I hope this reading was in any way helpful, and please subscribe to my channel if and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. Hello, group number 2. You chose this azurite, and I will start with some channeled information for you, and then I will draw some cards. So, well, group number 2, I don't think you have the best self-image. I think you are very hard on yourself. I think you are extremely afraid of making mistakes, and I think this is really blocking you from ever trying to do the things you actually want to do, because you are so afraid of failing, and so afraid of not being good enough. I feel like this might stem from your mother, like your mother might have been very hard on you, or maybe your mother just never was very impressed by you, or maybe your mother never applauded you for anything. Like you might have come home from school as a child with like a report that got an A+, and your mother would just act like it was no big deal or something. Like maybe for some of you, your mother, well, maybe your mother did actually smile and say congratulations, but like I think you knew that it was half asked, like you knew that she was just saying it because she had to, because she was your mother, like. But I think there was a part of you, like I don't know if this is true though, but I think that there was a part of you that just didn't believe her, or felt that she wasn't really being that genuine, and it could have been your own insecurities, but it could also have like been true enough. I don't know, but I just feel like I feel this energy that you might have felt that people around you didn't quite believe in you, and maybe some of you also had like a sibling who for some reason always took the spotlight, who always seemed to be able to impress your parents for much less than you could impress your parents with. Like, I see a scenario where you came home with like an A plus, and your sibling came home with a B minus, and for some reason your sibling stole the show, and your parents seem to be way more proud of your sibling. And well, maybe this was actually like a misinterpretation. Maybe your parents just applauded your sibling more because your sibling wasn't doing that great. That your sibling needed more of a self-esteem boost than you did. Maybe your parents also felt like it would have been in poor taste if they had like clapped and applauded you for getting an A plus when your sibling was around, like, because they didn't want your sibling to feel bad about themselves, or your parents might have felt that they didn't want your sibling to feel that they were favorizing you over your sibling, and in doing so they actually ended up making you feel like they favorized your sibling over you. And so I think you might need to reevaluate the past a little bit and try to think of it from your parents' perspective, and think about like whether or not there could be a possibility that your parents were just trying to be diplomatic and making everyone happy and making sure that no one was jealous of the other. Like, of course, if that's not the case, then like maybe your parents just couldn't really relate to you because they might have related more to your sibling. Like maybe they weren't, like maybe your parents weren't like that great in school, and so maybe they felt like your like they could relate more to your sibling. And I also think that like if you were the oldest sibling, then maybe your parents were both the youngest siblings in their families, and so maybe they felt like they had to take sides with your sibling because your sibling was the youngest, and they felt like they had to like sympathize because they knew how hard it was for them being the youngest sibling themselves. But I don't know. But I definitely think that some of your self-esteem and self-image might have been affected by your childhood, and especially your family life, because you felt like you weren't completely appreciated for all the amazing things you did, and maybe that's also the thing here. Like, I know this is unfair, but if you were the kind of child who just kept impressing your parents, maybe especially if you really seem to really want to impress your parents all the time, then maybe at some point your parents got a bit annoyed by this and maybe a bit bored or tired of it. But like if for example a child is extremely good at drawing, then the child will keep making more and more drawings, and at first the parents will be extremely impressed by the drawings, but when the parents have seen hundreds of drawings, it starts getting a bit dull and a bit repetitive, and like a parent can look at like a Michelangelo level drawing from a 10-year-old and still be unimpressed if the parent has already seen like 50 Michelangelo drawings coming from that child before. And so, well, I think this could be like that sort of situation here. Like, it could also be the same with grades. Like, if you got straight A's all the time, your parents might have just stopped paying attention to it because they more or less just started to expect it. Like, it didn't take them so much by surprise, and that might be why your parents were more impressed with your sibling, because they might have been a bit more like your sibling might have only rarely gotten a good grade, and when they did, I think your parents might have been so surprised that they actually gave a genuine reaction to it, because they were actually genuinely surprised. They weren't really that surprised when you got an A, because they had seen that before many times. And so I don't know, but let's draw some cards for you. I will start with some cards on your self-image, and then I will draw some cards on how other people perceive you. And so first with the self-image, and so 9 of Cups, Knight of Cups, Three of Pentacles, and Page of Pentacles. Okay, so with the 9 of Cups here, I think it's reversed. So I think there's something about feeling like you haven't been appreciated for all your trophies. Like in Rider-Waite, this image here is about someone admiring all his trophies, and like when it's upside down, I would interpret it as someone who feel like they haven't been appreciated for their achievements. And so but this could also be talking about how you have a hard time seeing your own achievements yourself. Maybe you need to stop and appreciate how far you've come, how much you've achieved. Maybe you need to learn to become your own biggest fan. Like if you felt like your parents weren't your biggest fans, then maybe become your own biggest fan. You don't need validation from others. The only validation that is truly important is the validation coming from yourself. So I also think with the 9 of Cups reversed here, that some of you might not see yourself as the risk takers, and I think this is something that bothers you. I think you are very bothered by your own perfectionism, that you are so afraid of making mistakes. I think it also might bother you a bit that you feel like you are like a bit of a people pleaser, that you let people's opinion of you get to you. That you are the type who, if you post something on social media and it gets negative response or gets a lot of dislikes, you will take it down immediately because you can't fully stand by what you believe in. You can't stand by your opinions and your craft and your skills and your talent. You need other people to think that what you do is good before you can believe in yourself. You might also be the type who feels like whenever you turn in an assignment in school that you are going to fail, that you probably did everything wrong, that you probably misunderstood the question or something like that. But you always end up getting an A plus or A, like, but it seems that it doesn't matter how many A's you get and how much validation you get. You will still feel like you must be doing something wrong. You might be a very pessimistic person. You always believe that everything will turn out catastrophically, even though you have extreme amounts of proof that it rarely ever turns out as bad as you think it will. Like, I think you have a tendency to psych yourself out, and you need to stop doing that. You need to stop having this limiting beliefs, these limiting beliefs of yourself. You need to start believing that everything will turn out just fine, as it always does. But I think you need to maybe you've been doing this because you don't want to get disappointed. Like, I think you expect the worst so that you will be pleasantly surprised, and also like so that you can keep your dignity if you fail. Like, you might tell people that you expect to fail on a test because you don't want to be embarrassed if you actually fail. And I can relate to this. I do this all the time, but I don't think it's a good thing to do, because I think what this ends up doing is that it makes people actually believe that you should have failed. Like, people start believing that you're actually as bad as you say you are, and then when you get an A or an A plus, like, they start questioning if there might have been other factors at play, that the teachers just gave you a good grade because they like you or something, and I don't think that's what you want at all. So maybe be cautious about that. So with the Knight of Cups here, I think the picture is very telling. Like, I think you might see yourself as someone who is a bit of a doormat to people, that you are a pushover, that people can just ride on you as they please, like a horse. Like, you can, like in this picture, like, you are the horse. Like, you might feel like you are allowing people to walk all over you, and I think you might feel like I think you know it's bad, but I think you have this tendency to need validation from others, that you, and so you feel like you can't really break this codependence that you have with people, because you want the validation. You want people to say that you are smart and that you are caring and that you are a good friend, but you also don't want to help everyone with their homework. You don't want to be available to people 24/7. I think this is actually a really great picture, though. Like, and so like, because I'm asking about your self-image, and your self-image is also about how you believe other people perceive you. And I think you just feel like other people see you as this horse, that people just see you as like someone they can use. Like if some of you have a car, you might even feel like people are just friends with you to get free rides in your car. Like you might feel like people aren't really spending time with you just to spend time with you. Like that there's always a catch. But I think with the page here, Page of Pentacles, I think you are starting to see your own worth. I think you are starting to cut people out of your life who were only in your life to take advantage of you. Like because this is a shepherd, and a shepherd has like a herd, and the shepherd also has like the ability to choose who to herd and who to not herd. Like herding, like I don't know if that's like really the truth. I don't know anything about shepherds, to be honest, but like this is what I think about when I see this picture. So I think you are starting to choose who you want to have in your ranch and who you don't want. Like I also think of those old school ranches where people captured like wild horses and tamed them. Sometimes they had to let some wild horses go because they weren't able to tame them because they were too wild, and they were throwing them off their back too much. And like after you've been thrown off a horse's back like 100 times, you will hand in the towel and let the horse go. And I think you might have given some people the benefit of the doubt in the past. You might have given people too many second chances, but I think you are starting to realize that some people will just never change, that some people will continue to hurt you, and that you shouldn't wait for them to change. And I think this has been very good for you. Like I see this image of like a butterfly in my head. So I think you are starting to finally like spread your wings and live your life as like the beautiful, mesmerizing butterfly you are. Like I'm also hearing something about a glow up, and by that I don't just mean a glow up where you have like become more physically attractive. It might also be referring to like a glow up in your vibe, in your self-worth, in your confidence. You might be glowing to people because you finally realized that you shouldn't work so hard on impressing people and making people like you. Like you realize that it also goes the other way around, that other people need to prove themselves to you too. And if people aren't treating you nicely, then you have no obligation to have them in your life. And I think people have been able to smell that on you, that you are not desperate for approval or validation anymore, that you are actually seeing yourself for the great person that you are, and that you've always been, like, but you've just now realized it. And so, but let's draw some more cards for you on how people perceive you. So the moon, Ten of Pentacles, the Star, and Queen of Wands. So, okay. With the Moon here, I think people might see you as someone who worries too much. That you and like maybe also that you worry too much about things that will never ever come true. Like you might have all these nightmares, or not nightmares, but like the opposite of dreams, but waken. Like you might have these catastrophe thoughts that everything will like turn out to be a disaster, and like I think people feel like you might worry too much about things that there's no need to worry about. And I think for many of you this is referring to that thing I was talking about before, that you have this tendency to tell people that you are going to fail an exam and then you actually ace it. And I think people just feel like you might be very pessimistic and might talk yourself down too much. With the Ten of Pentacles, I think people feel like you are really great, and like so you should really be able to see this, that you are actually really great. People see you as a winner here. Like they see you as someone who has like a lot of achievements, a lot of trophies, and I think people see you as someone who is like going places. You just need to get like sharper elbows, like that you can like knock people out who tries to cut in line and take what you have used a lot of time and effort to achieve. Like, and so I don't know why I thought of that, but like that sounds really specific. So maybe some of you have had like a really unfortunate experience where someone actually stole something from you, that someone took the prize from right under your nose, and you should have been the winner. That someone stole your win. That someone took ownership over something that you had worked really hard on, and I think people still see you as the rightful winner. You shouldn't be concerned that people don't see that, because they do. So with the Star here, I think people see you as a star. This reading is actually really, really positive. So I'm starting to think that this whole feeling that you have of people not appreciating your achievements might be in your head a bit, because I think people actually are really impressed by you. They see you as someone who is shooting for the stars, someone who will very likely get public acknowledgement in the future. So yeah, I also think this the Star here might be referring to you wearing a bit of a costume, because this lady is wearing a costume, like she's dressed as a polar bear. And the thing about polar bears is that they are white because they adapted to the environment, and so maybe people feel like you are maybe a bit too good at adapting to your environment, and this might also be referring to the thing I was talking about before, about this person stealing from you. Maybe you kept your cool throughout that situation. Maybe you didn't speak up. Maybe you tried to keep the peace. You didn't want to rock the boat. You didn't want to make a big fuss about it. So you might have just swooped it under the carpet because you wanted to keep the peace. And I think people wanted you to maybe react more and not be such a goody-goody. And like, if that makes sense. And with the Queen of Wands here, I think some people might see you as someone with like a very active third eye. So like you might be what the youngsters nowadays call woke, or that might be how people see you. You might also be Hindu, so you might wear like one of those charms between your eyes. I'm also thinking about like this cloak here, so some of you might wear a cloak, or maybe like long cardigans or long jackets. I think there is something about your style. I think you are really good dressers. I also think some of you might be Leos, so I think people might also be very mesmerized by your hair. You might have very long hair, like you like for maybe one of you, your hair actually might be freakishly long. Like your hair might actually be like your hair might be the cloak or the coat I was talking about. Like your hair might actually reach down to your knees. Maybe for some of you, like I think people see that as very beautiful and see you as very beautiful. So some of you might also smoke, or maybe people assume that you smoke. Maybe specifically weed, and well, maybe that's like why there's bats here. Like they might be symbolizing that people see you as kind of this perfect person, and I feel like that's a persona that you work very hard to maintain. You want people to see you as someone who doesn't make mistakes, and I think people do see you that way, but I also think people might see you like they might see some cracks in the foundation, and that could for example be because you smoke weed, or maybe just cigarettes. Like this doesn't completely make sense to people because they see you as this goody-goody, and so maybe this makes you this gives you a bit of an edge to you, but this also made me think of something very, very random, like a really random thought that I had in the shower the other day, and like I don't know if it has any relevance to this. I don't think it has, but like I thought like it just randomly occurred to me that like what if Spider-Man is actually not the story of a man getting bit by a spider and like becoming a Spider-Man, but the story of a spider who bit a man and became a Spider-Man, and like woo, like so okay, this is a very stupid thought. I know that. I'll admit that. But like maybe you have those random thoughts too, and maybe people have picked up on that you say some really random shit sometimes, and like maybe you like to turn things upside down, and like even if it doesn't make sense, but like I think you'd like to brain fuck people by making them see certain things from another perspective that they never thought of before. So yeah, and like I think people think I think people see you as quite awesome though. Like this is a very positive reading. So yeah, like yeah, you have no reason to put yourself down at all, because people really like you, and so and see a lot of potential in you. So yeah, that's all I have for you, group number 2. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. Hello, group number 3. You chose this smoky marble, and I will start with a channeled message and then I will move on to the cards. So, what is group number 3's self-image? Okay, so obviously there's an accent coming in. I think that some of you might have an accent. So so maybe you have like an accent where you like roll on the R's. So I don't know. It could be Spanish. It could be Hindu. It could be Scottish. It could be Irish, I think. It could also be Icelandic. It could be many things, but like so I think some of you might actually have like a self-image that is very affected by your home country, like especially if you don't live there, like if you don't live in your home country, then you might have like really had to make your home country your identity. Like people might always ask you where you're from, where your accent is from. People might ask you about your culture all the time. Like I think sometimes when people when people move away from their home country, they actually start identifying more with their home country than they probably would have if they had actually stayed in their home country. And so this could be the deal for some of you. And so your self-image might be very strongly built around the fact that you also have been perceived as a foreigner your whole life. If that's true though, but like I think many of you have felt like that felt like you didn't like I think you have felt like you didn't really belong, that you felt very different from the rest. And so if this is not about you being a foreigner, it could also just be you being an Aquarius and feeling like an alien because of that. And I don't know, but I think some of you might have like had like a bit of an identity crisis when you like where you didn't really know who you were, where you felt like your whole identity was built up around something, and that could have been your home country, but you might not really have known a lot about your home country or even been to your home country, and so maybe you felt like there were like a very big difference in how you perceived yourself and how other people perceived you, and so and you might have felt like you had to live up to something, and that you always had to disappoint people, like especially for those of you where your parents moved away from their home country when you were like a baby, or maybe even before you were born. You might have felt like people always expected or still keep expecting that you are a certain way, that but you aren't. Like you might have felt like your parents held very strongly on like cleansed very strongly onto their like around their culture from their home country, like they really kept that culture, but it's like they didn't, for some of you, they didn't really pass it on to you, or maybe you were just so young when they moved that you never really felt like this culture ever had like the same importance for you as it had for your parents, and so you might have felt like you just couldn't really like relate to your parents, or mirror yourself in your parents, because they were essentially from a different country than you. Like this might only resonate with a few of you, but I'm getting that this message is coming in quite strongly, that you felt like you were a bit of like the alien in the family, because your parents were so different from you. They might have even spoken a different language than you, and even though you probably could understand the language perfectly fine, I still think this might have created like a bit of a distance between you and your parents, because they were speaking a different language than you, because they had a different culture, because they watched shows from their home country and you watched shows from your country. Like if you know what I mean, like I think you had a hard time seeing yourself in your parents, like because you didn't have so much in common with them, and you probably also felt like you were a bit of a disappointment to them, because you were too influenced by the culture in the country that you grew up in. Like you didn't hold on to all the values that your parents held on to from their old country. You maybe also showed a lack of interest in your parents' home country, but that's only like very common, because like you can't make a child become interested in a country they've never been in, and like I think your parents might have felt disappointed that you were becoming too whatever country you live in now, like too American or whatever country, like or that you were starting to become too affected by the Western culture, and even though even though your parents actually moved to a Western country, they still seem to have that feeling that Western culture was like the devil in a Sunday hat, like if you get what I mean. So yeah, I don't know, but I think this has affected your self-image a bit, that you haven't felt like you really belonged fully to any country. Maybe it has also affected you a lot that people keep asking you about your home country, and you always have to disappoint them and say that you actually don't really have any special attachment to your home country. And so this might only be for some of you. Others of you might actually feel like you have like an attachment to your home country that you never fully got to explore. Maybe because like your parents were the complete opposite. Like maybe your parents weren't good enough at introducing you to their culture, and maybe when they moved away, like they'd completely just buried their whole culture behind them and moved forward and didn't look back. And so maybe you feel like you missed, you're missing like a part of your identity because you haven't fully learned about your home country. Like, but I don't know. But let's draw some cards here. So the 9 of Pentacles, Ace of Wands, I think that I'm not sure if this was reversed. It might have been. 10 of Cups. So I think with the 9 of Pentacles here, I think you see yourself as rather independent. I think you are the type who mostly rely on yourself. You don't ask people for help. You want to figure everything out for yourself, and I actually think that makes perfect sense considering what I've been talking about. Like, because maybe if your parents moved to a different country when you were very young, you might not have had like a big group of people around you, like who could help you. Like you didn't have any grandparents who you could call, or aunts and uncles or cousins. You only had your parents and maybe your siblings. Some of you might actually have been an only child, which might have made it a bit made it a lot worse. Like, because then you might have only had your parents, and maybe you still feel that way, that you don't have a big circle of people around you, that you only have your parents. Maybe you even felt a bit like you were abducted by aliens as a child. Like maybe you had nightmares about being abducted by aliens, and maybe these nightmares were actually reflections of how you felt at the moment. But it could also have been that your parents may have seen too much X-Files, and they might have allowed you to see too much X-Files, and you might have seen signs and those things that might have creeped you out, so that you were afraid of aliens. But mostly I just think this is like a symbol of how you felt. Like your parents had abducted you and moved you to this foreign country, away from the big family you had before, away from grandparents, cousins, aunts and uncles. Like, maybe you have always felt like you were a bit alone in this world too. Like, if this has nothing to do with like a foreign country or anything, this could also just be a metaphor that you felt like you were a foreigner, even though you weren't. That you felt like you were the alien, that you were a misfit that just didn't fit in anywhere. But I also do feel this loneliness, that you didn't have anyone to confide in, and so, like, especially if your parents were a bit neglective in your childhood, and well, that is that is not at all unusual for people who move to a different country. I'll keep at that storyline because I feel like it's very likely that it's the right one. So, like, because and like, if it makes sense, because it takes time to adapt to the new surroundings and the language, and if people move to a different country with small children, then they have a tendency to neglect those children, especially in the beginning, when everything is so extremely overwhelming. But this is kind of horrible, because it's even worse for the child. The child is even more overwhelmed, and they don't even know what the heck is going on. Like, and they have no, like, they have not chosen to actually move away, and everything is completely out of the child's control, and it's frightening and scary. And well, it wouldn't be completely wrong to compare it to an alien abduction. And so, yeah, I think you might have felt rather alone as a child, and you might have felt, you might still feel alone as an adult. But I think you have become more used to it now, and I think you are good at being alone. You are good at taking care of everything yourself, and not relying on anyone for help, which I think has been beneficial for you. But you might need to learn to let go a bit, especially if you start a relationship with someone. Like, then you will need to delegate. So yeah, with the Ace of Wands, right now when I see this picture, I think of fastness. And I think this might be referring to the fact that you might feel a lot faster on the inside than you do on the outside, because I'm not sure if this card was reversed or not, but like, I feel like it might have been both. And so I think when you like need to communicate something out, it is always like slower than you want it to be. And this might be because you are bilingual. Like, you might feel like the words come to you very quickly, but then you might feel like you stumble on the words when you actually need to say them. And with the 10 of Cups, I think this card is telling me that you see yourself as a family person. And well, maybe that might be referring to your family too. Like maybe you actually do have a very strong bond to your family. But I also think this is referring to the fact that you might see yourself as a type who wants to settle down and have children, which is actually interesting when you think about the Nine of Pentacles here. Like, these two cards are not, they are not opposites per se, but like they are kind of in their own field. Like these like this card is about being okay with being single, and this card is about wanting companionship, and like but I think, well, this card is suggesting a strong dream about finding love and having a lot of children, and like just having a lot of people around you. And I think some of you actually are dreaming of like this big family, because I think that might be you trying to compensate for the lack of family that you had yourself. Like, you want your children to not feel alone as you felt, and I think that makes perfect sense actually. But in order to get there, you probably need to maybe let go of some of the Nine of Pentacles energy, or not, because the Nine of Pentacles is also about being so secure and so confident in yourself that when you actually settle down with someone, you don't become codependent on the person. You are able to maintain your dignity, and you won't make compromises just to keep the peace, for instance. And so I think it is good that you are becoming, or have already become, this person a long time ago, because that tells me that you are ready for a committed relationship. If you just let go of some of your stubbornness to do everything. Like, you have the stubbornness to do everything by yourself and not needing help or support from anyone. And you might need to let go of that a bit. So but let's draw some more cards about how people perceive you. And so, 5 of Swords, the Empress, the Fool, and 9 of Wands. Okay, 5 of Swords. I definitely think people might see you as someone who has been through a lot, who has had many obstacles that you've had to overcome, that your life has not been easy at all. But I also think people admire that you have been able to maintain a positive outlook, that you have actually in some way been able to turn the negatives into positives, to actually win something out, like win something from your losses. Like, for instance, if you have like a small accent, you might have just embraced that accent, and people actually love the sound of your accent. But it could also be something else, like, for instance, like I have a similar story. My parents moved to a different country when I was 3, almost 4 years old, and I have had a hard time like coping with being the foreigner and being perceived as different and being made fun of for my name and stuff like that. But I'm also grateful that my parents moved, because even though I'm sort of damaged by it, like I sort of like to look at it from like the big picture, from the perspective of like my whole bloodline, like the whole bloodline to come. Like I'm glad that my bloodline will continue in this country and not in my home country, because I believe that it will be more beneficial for my whole bloodline to come. It's hard to describe, but yeah, but like you might have like a very similar and positive outlook on some of your suffering, and I think people admire that you are able to have like this bigger perspective on things. And like with the Empress here, I think people see you as also very womanly and very motherly. I think people see you as someone who is also very creative and sensual, but the Empress is kind of also about seeing the big picture, because women, especially in the ancient time, were supposed to be the bookkeepers, like the ones who needed to keep track on everything and everyone, and like I don't know if that's the truth, or if it's like something I'm just pulling out of my ass, but either way, I think people do see you as like this bookkeeper. They see you as like someone who is good at keeping track on everyone and everything. You might also be like a bit like a mother to your friends. Like if you go out drinking with your friends, you are the friend who keeps sober, so that you can keep an eye on your friends and make sure that they don't end up in a ditch somewhere. Like you're the type who calls like who calls a cab to get your friend picked up if they've passed out on the toilet. Like you are the friend who makes sure that everyone is kind of like just alive and well after a night out. Like you're probably also the type who asks people to text you when they get home, so that you'll know they arrived safely. I think people see you as like a very caring person, like a mother. You also might be a bit strict like a mother, like you don't just say whatever people want to hear, and like you're not afraid of being seen as like the party pooper. Like for instance, if one of your friends get like a bad idea to go swimming while really drunk, you have no problem saying no. Like saying no to that person and being very authoritative and like really take on that strict parent role and like state really strongly that like you don't approve, and your friends like will maybe even get a bit intimidated and like back down, and they will know that they shouldn't do that. Like they know that like you're serious. Like when you're being serious, you're being serious. Like that like you will call the cops on them if that means that they will be protected from drowning in the ocean. Like, and like I think people really respect you for that. Like so yeah, like I think people just respect that you care so much for others, and you would rather become unpopular than seeing corpses. Yeah. So with the Fool here, I think people feel like even though you might be very strict towards others, then some people might feel like you're not really being as strict towards yourself as you are towards others. Like you take really good care of people, but you might not take that good care of yourself. Well, this might be something people feel about you, that you are helping everyone around you, but and that you are making sure that everyone is safe around you, and but you may be a bit careless about yourself. Like I don't know really what that's referring to, but like you might also go like against your own advice sometimes. Like you might take some risks that you would never allow your friends to take. So I don't know. I also think people might just see you as someone who is a bit naive too, that you tend to see the best in people, and you tend to not see all the drama and manipulation going on around you. But I also think this card might be like more of like suggesting that people would like you to be more like the Fool, that they might want you to loosen up a bit, that people would love if you for once could be the one who gets blackout drunk, and that your friend would have to drag your ass home. And like I think you might feel like you can't do that, that if you got blackout drunk, then people would get hurt, like because like you are not there to protect them and save them. Like but I think people would be fine, and maybe even more than fine, if they for once actually felt like they had to like stay strong or sober for you. Like but you don't actually give people a chance to prove themselves. Also, I think people really want to help you, like even even with the smallest things. Like if you have helped people, I think they really want to be able to return the favor, but they never seem to get a chance to do so, because you always want to do everything yourself. And so maybe you need to give people a chance to actually do some things for you. So with the 9 of Wands here, I think some people definitely do see you as sort of wounded, that you are very strong, but people know that you are so strong because you've overcome a lot. And I think people just really want you to start letting your guards down. Also, I think people want you to let them in more, like emotionally. They want you to confide more in them about your deepest feelings. Like they want to be your shoulder to cry on for once. Like you've been the shoulder to cry on for everyone, all of your friends, and like they just want to for once be the one comforting you instead of you comforting them. So and maybe some people also feel like they have opened up a lot to you, and maybe you haven't opened up that much to them, and so maybe there is like a bit of an imbalance there. People feel like you know everything about them, but they don't know anything at all about you. And so yeah, that's maybe something you need to work on. But like that's all I have for you. I think people really do like you a lot. So but yeah, that is all I have for you. group number 3. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. Hello, group number 4. You chose this obsidian crystal ball here, and I will start with some channeled information, and then I will draw some cards for you. So, well, I think some of you might have some insecurities about your weight, and well, maybe this even stems back to your childhood. Like maybe you were a bit chubby as a child, and maybe you got bullied because of it. And even if you are like normal weight today, I think I still think you might feel a bit insecure about your body. Maybe some of you have also like recently lost a lot of weight, which might have made you feel good about your body for a second, but maybe you felt like it didn't really solve the underlying issues that you had with your body. I also think I also thought of like one thing. Like I remember reading a story from someone who had lost a lot of weight, and afterwards she actually felt more insecure about her body, because back when she was overweight, she never felt like it mattered that much if she went up a size in pants. Like, but when she had gotten like skinny, she felt like if she just went one pant size up, everyone would notice, and there would be like a bigger focus on it, and she felt like she had more like eyes on her than she had before. Like she felt like people were more giving her like the elevator look, and she felt like people were like looking at her body, and like whenever she would gain a bit, she would feel like everyone was thinking that she was starting to gain the weight back, whereas when she was overweight, people didn't really notice if she put on a few pounds, and like, or and like, so I don't know if that resonates at all with you, but like if some of you have lost weight recently, I have this feeling that you might feel like it has caused you more stress than happiness. But if this is not about like a recent weight loss, I think it might just be. I think I might just be picking up on the fact that some of you don't fully love your body right now, and I think this is affecting your self-image. But let's draw some cards here for you. So, King of Peppermills. The Star. Ace of Flamingos. And 10 of Peppermills. Okay, so I think, well, this is actually quite fitting. I was always like, because like, I think you might see yourself as the Michelin man, I don't think you look in any way like the Michelin man, but it makes sense that it comes out as your own self-image, because you might have like a bit of like body dysmorphia. You might also be like just really hard on yourself. Like I feel like you might even be bullying yourself a bit for your weight. Like you need to stop doing that. You need to start loving yourself. You need to stop being so mean to your body. Like, I know this is like some corny psychology shit, but like maybe when you're saying shit about your body, then like when you're being mean to yourself, try to picture yourself when you were like 7 and try to imagine saying those mean things to your 7-year-old self. Like, you wouldn't want to make your 7-year-old self feel bad about like about their body. Like, why would you do that to yourself then? And so try to make peace with your body. So yeah, maybe your parents made fun of your weight when you were a child, and maybe that has kind of stuck with you. Maybe your father especially. Maybe for some of you, your father was a bit of a fitness fanatic or something like that, and maybe he actually maybe he did become a fitness fanatic because he had struggled with his own weight in the past. And like, I feel like you might have like inherited the gene for like overweight, from that gene, like from your father and his side of the family. Like, and I think, and so like I feel like your father's side of the family had a tendency to be more overweight. I don't know, but I think if he was hard on you for your weight in your childhood, I think it might have been sort of a trigger for him, because he was overweight as a child himself. I don't know if your father actually made fun of your weight though, but like he might have just made a big deal out of it and made it into like this cause of concern that might even have been worse than if he had just made fun of you. Like, or that's at least something I'm picking up on. It's very specific, so it might just resonate with a few of you. So with the star here, I think your self-image might be a bit mixed. You might feel like you are like a mix between two things. I'm not completely sure what it is. Like, maybe your father is from one country and your mother is from another country. Maybe you're like, so you might have mixed nationality or mixed race or something, I don't know. You might also just have two sides to you. Like, you might be Geminis, even though the star is here, which is often considered Aquarius. So some of you could be Aquarius, but I'm getting more like Gemini or maybe Libra or Cancer, maybe Taurus. But maybe you also have like a sun and moon sign that are like polar opposites. I don't know. But like, but some of you might also just be very much into like astrology, and you might be really skilled at interpreting natal charts and stuff like that. But I also like think that some of you might be into some ancient myths or cultures. You might be really into ancient Egypt or something, but that might be only like one of you. With the Ace of Flamingos reversed, I think. Oh, also with ancient Egypt here, like you might have like a necklace with that Egyptian symbol. Ankh. Is it Ankh? It doesn't sound right. Whatever, you might know it. So it's not important really. But with the Ace of Flamingos reversed, I think you might have insecurities about not being good enough. Maybe when it comes to school or education, maybe some of you felt like you never truly fit in the school system. Maybe you felt like the school system was constantly trying to force you into being someone we weren't, like they might have tried to force you inside like a box, and when you didn't fit in that box, they didn't question the box, they questioned you and why you didn't fit in the box. And I think that is sadly something that happens very often. Like it's easier to like diagnose a child with ADD than it is to fix like the classroom so that the children can actually focus in it. Like, and so I think some of you might have felt like the school never was a good place for you. Like you could never truly focus in school. Maybe you are hypersensitive and maybe especially very sensitive to noise. So maybe you can't focus unless there's completely quiet around you. Maybe you are clairaudient, so maybe that's why you are so sensitive to noise. But like I think some of you might have like maybe given up on education because you have felt like it wasn't for you, and maybe some part of you feel very happy about your decision, but another part of you might feel like you are missing out on something, or that people are judging you or thinking less of you because you haven't been to college, or because you dropped out of college, or because you might have a shorter education. Like maybe you don't have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, but you might have taken some other just as valid education, but you might have some insecurities about it because you feel like people don't see it as like fancy enough. But like with the 10 of Wands here, like I think your self-image is of someone who works very hard. I think you have like a very good work ethic, but I also like, I don't know why I thought about this, but like for 1 second I felt like this was a dinosaur. It really isn't, but like it's like a Godzilla type of thing. But like I thought of, so like some of you might be like into Godzilla and like old school movies like that, but I also think of like dinosaurs, and I think of like that that picture of like a dinosaur, and like it has really really short arms, and like it's like singing along to like, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, and then it can't clap the hands, like, you get it. And I don't know why I thought about that right now, but like maybe some of you, this could be two things. This could be just referring to you having a bit of a silly kind of humor, and maybe you also like have like shirts with those kinds of slogans on them, or not slogans but like jokes on them. But this could also be referring to you having very like small arms. I don't know. Maybe you feel like you do. But maybe it's also like you may feel like some people are like that you can't like like with a bachelor's degree or master's degree, like if you see like people around your age that are like finishing their bachelor's degree or their master's degree, like you feel like you can't really clap along, like you're not really a part of it, like you can just be like, if that makes sense, like you might feel like you're a bit left out because you didn't go the same way as other people did, like that's maybe a thing, I don't know. But I also think like with this card here, I think you also might feel like you are a bit overworked and overburdened right now. Maybe you are the type who keeps covering for other people at work. Maybe you keep taking shifts for people even though you don't really have the energy for it. But like I think you also might feel like others are taking advantage of you a bit, that they are like putting the burden on you just because they want like a vacation day or a self-care day, whereas you might feel like you are the one who is really in need of a self-care day. And there might also be like a part of you that feels like it should be very obvious to people around you that you need a break, like, but I'm not sure that they actually see it as very obvious. Like, I think you might need to spell it out for people, for them to understand. Like maybe you are psychics or empaths and you feel like everybody should be able to sense that you need time off or a break or something, like, because you can always tell if other people need time off. You can always read people if they are getting frustrated, or if they are like losing their patience, or if they are starting to become jittery. Like you are the type at work who tells people you need to take a break now, like before the situation escalates. Like you are the type who can always sense that people need that people need something, that they need a break. And I think it frustrates you that you don't have anyone around you that can sense that you need that too, like that you need people around you that can actually know what you need, like that can tell when you are sad and when you are tired and like those things. Like if this is not referring to your workplace, this could also be referring to your friends and family. Like, you might feel like you have no one who completely gets you, and so, well, maybe you are Aquariuses after all. Like, but like you might feel like people don't get you, people can't read your mind, but you can read everyone else's mind, and I think that is a really frustrating feeling to have. So yeah, but let's draw some more cards for you. So, okay, Queen of Hats, Two of Hats, and King of Flamingos. So, okay, like I'm actually quite baffled by this, because this is such a strong message here. Like, this is like I wouldn't be able to make this up even if I tried to. Like, this is a coincidence that like this is an out of the world coincidence, like right here. Like, what? Look at this. Like, it's the same. Like, what? Okay, so this is like a really, really strong message. I think you see yourself as like this Michelin man. But other people actually see you as not the Michelin man, like this thin person. And so I think this is like really, really telling. Like, I think this is a very strong message that you see yourself as like overweight, and people see you actually as like very like normal weight, or even like thin. And like, maybe this is because you've recently lost weight, and so maybe your self-image just hasn't adapted to your to your body yet. Like, you might still see yourself as an overweight person, even though you've lost the weight. And so, yeah, it's like this is crazy. Like, this is even like the Queen of Hats, and this is the Queen of Peppermills, and even that, like, it's still obviously the same person. Like, this person has just lost weight. Like, I don't even get it. Like, they have the same hair, they have the same dress on, they have the same like crown. It like, and it looks like the clothes is like a bit ragged here. Like, it's like the clothes are a bit oversized. Like it is these clothes, but just on a skinnier person. And so maybe this is also telling me that people see that you have lost weight, but you might still have the same clothes as you had when you were overweight, and people might see you as like that you might like need a new wardrobe, that you might need to stop wearing like oversized clothes that hide your body. And like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, never thought of this before. Like, it's genius. So, okay, I think with the Two of Cups, I think people see you as someone who might be a bit hard to please. Like, because this person here is this person is offering like a hat to this lady here, and like you can see like this lady's face, like it's not impressed at all. Like it is like this lady is like she's just not having it. Like, and I think people see you as someone who might be a bit hard to you might be a bit hard to please, like because like and like if I think people feel like if they actually try to help you, you become like a bit offended maybe, and like if you are struggling with something and someone comes to your rescue, you might push them away because you feel like it's insulting, or that they are assuming that you can't do it. Like I'm also getting like an image of like especially men trying to help you with things, and like you feel like they're that they are like seeing you as this damsel in distress, that they are only helping you like because it makes them feel like good about their own masculinity or something. Like for instance, if you are very short, you might have experienced like many tall men ask you if you needed help like getting things from the top shelf, and this might be all right if it just happened occasionally when you're out shopping, but if you actually work in like a grocery store or in retail or of any kind, then men might ask you all the time if you need help stocking the top shelves, which might insult you because it's your job and you're good at your job. You can easily just get a ladder if you can't reach the top shelf. Like it's no big deal really, and so I think people feel like they are being really friendly and helpful, and they just that you are just this prude for like rejecting their help, but really it is sort of them that are in the wrong, or well, not completely but sort of, because they don't seem to be able to see how their actions might be perceived as a bit insensitive to you. Like I'm short, like I'm like 5'3", and I know that's not really short, but it's sort of short, like especially for Danish standards. But like I had an experience once when I was like in the grocery store and I was reaching after something on the top shelf, and a man came up behind me, and like he didn't like reach out and like get the thing that I was trying to reach like down to me. He actually came back like behind me and lifted me up so that I could like reach, as if I was a child or something. And like this was like so not okay at all. And like I think many short people have like similar stories, and like I don't know, but like now I'm like assuming that all of you are short, but like I have kind of a good feeling that the majority of you are. But like if you're not, this could also be referring to people may be wanting to help you lift things because you're a woman, like especially if you are in like a field where you use your hands, like if you are like in like a carpenter or a baker or some other job that is considered like a physical job, then you might feel like some of the men around you are like babying you because you are a woman, that men are like being condescending to you and assuming that you can't do certain things just because you are a woman, and you might be really tired of this, which might have made you into like this this angry lady stereotype, and so with the king, with the king of flamingos, I think people might also feel like you reject that you reject them a bit or push people away, because like this person here is looking away from the flamingo, and so maybe people feel like you tend to look away from them. Maybe people feel like you are like a bit bad at maintaining eye contact, but if you look oh, okay, fuck, I can't make this up, man. Like, I have never noticed this before, but like this king is standing on a stool. He's short. Okay, so I think people just perceive you as really short. So yeah. So I think this is like something people focus on for some reason, and like also if you have like weight issues or have had weight issues in the past, like if you are really short, then you really should cut yourself some slack, because like it's nearly impossible for like short people to maintain their weight because they are so short. Like they have much lesser space to like fill out, like if you get what I mean. So I also think of like, because this gives me some associations to Napoleon and the Napoleon complex. So maybe some of you, maybe some people might see you as someone who has like a Napoleon complex, that you are like compensating for your lack of like height. Sorry for the disturbance, but like you that you're compensating for the lack of height by being like a bit overly aggressive, and like you might also yell a bit and make a fuss about things. You might react really strongly, and people might just like see you as a bit like a chihuahua. Like you might be this small person who's like this cute person, small person, like but really like you shouldn't mess, like people shouldn't mess with you, because you will fight them. Like you are feisty. Like you might also have like a big mouth, and like you're not afraid of like threatening people. Maybe like literally threatening people, threatening to beat people up. Like you're not afraid of like telling like someone who, like I don't know, but like I think people might also see you as a bit dominating. But yeah, like you might just yeah, I think that's all I have for you actually. Group number 4. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. So bye. Hello, group number 5. So I will start with some channeled information, and then I will draw some cards for you. So some of you might have an accent, so but you could also just be from a country that is maybe you might be Spanish or something. In those, I'm not really sure, but I don't think you're native English speakers, but you could be though. But I think there's something about your self-image being a bit scattered. Like, I think you might have a hard time finding your own identity. You might feel like you are different people according to who you hang out with. Like, you are one person when you're alone, you are another person when you are with your family, you are a third person when you are with your friends, you are a fourth person when you are at work, and you're a fifth person when you are in school, and you may you're I think you just might be a bit confused to who of these versions of yourself is actually the real one, because I feel like these versions are very different from each other. Like, you might be very authoritative and dominant at work, you might be submissive at school, you might be very funny and easygoing around your family, you might be very anxious around your friends, and then you might be a bit serious when you are all by yourself. But these are just examples, they could be anything, but you might feel a bit like you change so much that you don't actually know who is the steady one, who is the who is the foundation for all of these other personas. The Spartacus thing, you might have so many versions of yourself, all calling themselves by your name, but you need to have you seem to have lost track of who the original Spartacus was. Who were you before you put on all these roles? One of you might also have recently taken on the role as a mother, and congratulations, but you might feel like now there is just yet another role that you're playing, and that this role might just be adding to this confusion of who you actually are deep down. And I get this image in my mind of a masquerade, and I think you feel like you have all these masks and you show different masks to different people, and I think you also do it sort of to protect yourself. It might be a defense mechanism that is allowing you to remain a bit anonymous, or at least make sure that your true identity is very much hidden somewhere deep inside of you. And maybe you started hiding your true identity from a really early age, and maybe you did it because you were like afraid of people making fun of you. Maybe you didn't want to share your hobbies with people because people had made fun of your hobbies before, and that had discouraged you from actually having those hobbies at all, like altogether. Like you might have stopped having those hobbies. Like if you played with Pokemon cards, someone might have said that it was lame, and then you lost the passion, like the passion you had for the Pokemon cards, and maybe you even threw the Pokemon cards away because you couldn't really look at them anymore because they were giving you bad memories. And so maybe at some point you just figured out that the only way to protect your hobbies from getting ruined by people was to actually keep them locked inside in a really, really, really safe box where no one could find them. And well, maybe you have done that with a lot of things in the past, and maybe you still keep doing this. Maybe there are things that you keep hidden from people because you don't want people to ruin, you don't want people to rain on your parade. So maybe you have big dreams for the future that you haven't shared with anyone because you're afraid that if you do, they will take a dump on it and make you drop the whole dream altogether. And like, I think this has been like your defense mechanism to keep the things that are important to you safe from criticism and judgment. But this might also have caused you to put on all these different masks in order to steer people away from the things that you are actually passionate about. Like, you have probably had to find things that you are like semi passionate about, so that you have like a topic to talk about if people like ask you about your hobbies and your passions. Like then you talk about something, but that something you talk about might not even interest you one bit, but it's like a cover story that is just maintaining your real hobbies locked in this box. And well, maybe the reason why you are starting to have like a bit of an identity crisis now is that you might have accidentally lost the key to that box. Like, you might have done so much to hide away your true identity to people, like so that they couldn't judge or criticize it, that now you seem to have lost what you actually worked so hard on protecting. Not that the key can't be found again, but the identity is something that is very, very fragile, and our identity is very much determined by how others see us. And since you haven't actually shared your true identity with others, then they see you as like all these different masks that you have put on. And so like, I think you might have started to believe in how others perceived you, even though like you fabricated their perception yourself. But I get why you're confused, because quite frankly I'm confused. So like I understand why you have a hard time keeping track of who you really are, but you just need to find that key and lock that box up. But like sometimes we subconsciously hide certain things away because because like deep down we know that like if we share it, it will be ruined, and like and that we are not strong enough to actually hold on to it. And so I think sometimes our brain just keeps some things hidden from us, like so that we can develop strength enough to actually, and confidence enough to actually face it, like face the judgment and the criticism, like when it comes. And so maybe it is good to keep it a secret for a while more. And well, the worst thing is that I feel like your whole identity might actually revolve around this dream you have, and I think that is why you have locked it so safely in that box, even if you did it consciously or subconsciously. Like, it seems to be something that is very precious and very, very valuable, and it will determine your whole life. And if you are feeling lost in your identity now, I don't actually think you should worry that much about it, because I think when you actually take that leap of faith and actually go for the dream you have, then you then your sense of identity will follow. Like, you will gain a good sense of who you are, and and you will get that when you start living your dream. So please do that, but don't tell anyone about it. Keep it for yourself until you've done it. Like, if you want to be a writer or a tarot reader, or then wait until you've actually written that book or started doing readings for people before you actually tell anyone about it, because, well, quite frankly, they might rain on your parade. There might be especially some specific person in your life who's kind of narcissistic, and maybe you have actually developed this defense mechanism because you have this narcissistic person in your life who you subconsciously know would try to bring you down if they could. So yeah, but let's draw some cards for you. First about your self-image, and then I will draw about people's perception of you. But first about the self-image. So 5 of Pentacles, 3 of Swords, and 8 of Staffs. Okay. With the 5 of Pentacles, I think this might be referring to like this treasure locked inside of you that you don't seem to have access to right now. Like, I think this might also be referring to like the fact that you might feel like you have like this great talent, maybe for writing, but you don't seem to be able to access it. So some of you might have writer's block right now. I also think some of you might feel a bit stuck or a bit passive in your life, like you don't know how to activate yourself, you don't know how to start following the dream that you have. Like, I think if this is about writing, I think some of you have like a lot of, like, you have probably had a lot of teachers throughout the years who really loved your work and maybe also encouraged you to become writers, and maybe you have felt like that was something you needed to do, but it's like you only can access your gift when you are asked to write something, when you're asked to write an assignment or an essay. It is like the gift is inside you, but it can only be activated by someone from the outside. And so maybe some of you have like ADD, and maybe you could actually benefit from medication, but I think others of you might just have to find another way to activate this, maybe try to write as if you were giving yourself an assignment. Like maybe that might help you get like the ball rolling. I don't know, but like with the Three of Swords, I think some of you might also feel like you suck at love. Maybe some of you feel like you are a bit too damaged to ever be able to get in a relationship. I don't know what that's about, but like some of you might feel like you are just too complicated, that if anyone should get in a relationship with you, they will have to like peel a lot of layers. And maybe you also feel like you are afraid that people will discover your true identity behind all these masks, and that they won't like it. Like you might also feel like you are leading people on by wearing all these masks. Like maybe you also feel like you have so many defense mechanisms. Like you might feel like you put up like walls to protect your heart, and you do stupid things in order to protect it. Like you might be the type who runs away as soon as a relationship gets serious because you can't deal with it, and maybe you feel like you just aren't suited for relationships, that you have too much baggage, and that you're too complicated of a person for people to figure out. With the 8 of Staffs reversed, I think you might feel like you are maybe even a bit slow. Like you feel like you think slower than other people, that you need to think about the question before you answer, while others can just make up an answer on the spot. And you might be really frustrated that you always seem to think of all the answers afterwards. Like you might come up with all the great arguments and all the great comebacks and all the great jokes afterwards, like while you're walking home. Like if you go to a party, you never know what to say at the party, but then you can like make a whole manuscript as you walk home of what you could have said at the party. And I think you feel like your brain isn't functioning at a normal speed, that there's something wrong with you, but there actually isn't. Like someone explained this to me once. Like I don't remember what exactly he said, but it was something about how very analytical people tend to think slower than people who are not as analytical. So that if you have like a very analytical mind, you might just think slower because you're not only experiencing your reality as you're living it, you're also analyzing it while you're living it, and very likely over-analyzing it too. And this takes a lot of process time, but this could be an ADD thing too. Like I don't know why this is a theme in my readings, and I don't know if I'm projecting because I have ADD myself, but like I seem to see a lot of you having ADD, but like I don't know, but like if you have ADD, you might be struggling with the problem that you just have too many tabs open all at once, like, and your brain is like a computer, and if you have 100 tabs open at once, the computer will of course be slower. So like it's about shutting down some of the tabs, but of course that's like easier said than done. I know that, like, but yeah. Like let's draw some more cards about how other people perceive you. So the Lovers. The King of Pentacles reversed. The Ace of Swords reversed. So, okay, with the Lovers here, there might also there might be something about distance here, because these two people are like touching each other, but their bodies seem to be on each side of this tree, like they are holding hands, but you can also see that like they are not like clenching their hands around each other's hands, like they're just like stroking each other's hands, so like they're not even like completely touching their hands either. And so maybe there's something here about physical touch, like you might not be comfortable with people touching you, like you want people at a distance, but I think people are picking up on the fact that you still want people around you, you still want people to be there for you, but just a bit at a distance, like. And so with the King of Pentacles reversed, this is actually interesting. I don't know if this resonates with all of you, and this might sound a bit harsh, and I'm sorry, but people might feel like you might burst their bubble a bit, actually, like, because the King here, and when it's upright, the King is holding like this bubble, and when it's reversed, I'm like picturing the bubble bursting. And so maybe you are a bit judgmental or critical towards others, like towards other people's dreams, as well as your own. Like you might be hypercritical towards yourself, but you're also hypercritical towards others, and that's why like some of you are afraid of sharing your dreams with others, maybe like because you know how critical you are, and so you assume that others will be too, like maybe and like I think you are critical of yourself too, and that might also be why you have writer's block, because you might like write really slowly because you keep erasing everything you write, and you keep rephrasing everything, and so maybe you get really critical towards yourself and also towards others. And maybe you feel like you are doing it to help others, like you want people to be the best version of themselves, and so you feel like it might be your duty to point out some of the problems you see and help them solve those problems. But I think you might need to stop doing that, because it might be discouraging people, like it would have discouraged you if people did the same to you. So, but like this is the King of Pentacles, and it's an earth sign, and so maybe some of you are an earth sign, and maybe especially Virgo. So yeah, but this could also be referring to like some specific person in your life that you maybe judged, and you may need to go easy on that person, and it could be a male, and it could be a Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. Maybe you've judged this person's ideas, and maybe you need to try to fix this. And like the Ace of Swords reversed might be indicating that maybe some people feel like you are actually raining on their parade a bit, and maybe people also feel like you are raining on your own parade. Maybe people feel like you are your own worst enemy because you are so critical towards yourself. But the cards could also be advising you to maybe take it easy on people, because the Ace of Swords are about new ideas, and when it's reversed, it's about shooting some ideas down. So you might need to keep an open mind towards new ideas. That is all I have for you, group number 5. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye. Hello, group number 6. You chose this onyx, so I will start with some channeled information, and then I will draw some cards for you. So, okay, so group number 6. I saw an image of a frog, so this might tell me that you perceive yourself to be maybe a prince or a princess trapped in a frog's body. So maybe you feel like your personality is much better than your looks, and I don't know if that's because you feel like your looks aren't that great, or if you just feel like your personality is so awesome that your looks don't do it justice. Like, I don't know, but I think it is a bit of both, maybe. Like, I think some of you might feel like you're not pretty enough, and maybe you have never felt like you were pretty enough. Maybe you grew up comparing yourself to your sibling who might have been considered pretty or prettier than you. Maybe this could also have been your mother, I don't know, but I do feel like it could be a sibling. Maybe when you had like family parties, people in your family, like your grandparents and aunts and uncles, would always talk about how good looking your sibling was, and you might have felt a bit left out, but I think you do have a good sense of self-worth, because like I think you know that like you are so much more than your looks. But let's draw some cards here. So 6 of Cups reversed, Nine of Cups, and King of Swords. Okay, this is your self-image, by the way. I will draw some cards about other people's perception later. So with the 6 of Cups reversed, I think some of you might feel like you have maybe a bit of an unusual look, or something unusual about you. There might be something about you that you feel like stands out, or that you feel like makes you look or seem different in some way. With the 9 of Cups, I think you do feel like you are the shit though. Like I think you have reasons to believe that you are rather awesome. Maybe you have some trophies. Maybe you won some like spelling bees or some competitions or something. Maybe you have like had some public recognition for some of the things that you've done. So like you know that you're kind of great. And some of you might have like an Instagram channel that has gotten like quite a lot of like followers or something. Like maybe you have gotten like enough validation to actually feel good about yourself. Maybe with the frog prince that I was thinking about before, like maybe you have actually recently had like a glow up, and maybe you feel a lot better about your looks now than you did before. But I think some of you might also have like gone on Tinder recently, and maybe you felt like you wouldn't get any likes at all, but maybe you were really positively surprised to see that you actually got quite a lot of likes. But I don't know. But like I also think you do see yourself like, I think you see yourself as like a bit of a social butterfly. I think you see yourself as like quite good at networking. Like I think you know that you have charisma. Like you're good at winning people over and making people trust you. Like you also like might have the gift of making people share way more than they intended. Like I think you have this way of making people a bit spellbound. Like I think some of you might see yourself as good public speakers. Like you might see yourself as someone like in this picture here, like you're not this kind of person who is supposed to be alone somewhere reading a book. Like you are supposed to be out there selling the book. Like maybe some of you are really good salesmen and you know it. Like you might be able to sell sand in Sahara, and maybe you have gotten a lot of recognition for that. Like I think you know you have really good people skills, and like you don't even care how you look, because you know that you have that your charisma will win people over. Like you might like feel bad for those really pretty people who have so little charisma that the automatic doors in the supermarket won't even open for them. Like I don't think that joke works in English. Like in Denmark, the word for charisma is like more similar to radiation. So I don't think that joke really translated very well. But like I think some of you might like be very funny too. Like I'm not funny, but you might be. So like I think you know you are funny. Like you know you can make people laugh. Like some of you might actually have been to like a stand-up like open mic night before, and like you know you're funny. You know you can make people laugh. And with the King of with the King David here. Well, King David was really likable. Like that dude was liked by everyone, and like I think you know that people like you, and so yeah. The only problem you might have is like jealousy from other people. That's not really a problem at all. Well, it was for King David, but like it won't be for you. So, okay. This could also like tell me that maybe some of you are like studying theology, maybe to become a priest or something. But maybe you're afraid that your sibling is like a bit jealous of you, because the tables might have turned a bit, or like maybe your sibling always got all the attention when you were younger, but now that you have gained some like public recognition, you might be getting more attention, and you might be afraid that your sibling is getting a bit jealous about it. But I don't know. It's a bit weird. But like there's also a harp here, so maybe some of you are really good at playing an instrument. Maybe you can play the harp or the cello or something like that, and maybe that's what you've had some public recognition about. But I also just think you might have some talent that maybe only a few people have. Like, for instance, the harp is kind of like a rare instrument to play, so maybe you do something that only very few people do or can do, and I think it might boost your self-esteem a bit that you can do this thing that is very rare. So yeah, maybe some of you study something in the university that only very few people study, like maybe a language that is very rare. Maybe you've learned yourself to read a language that's very rare just for the fun of it. But it could be theology too, or maybe you are like Christians or Jews, or maybe your self-image is somewhat defined by your religion or something. But let's draw some more cards for you about how people perceive you. And so 4 of coins, 9 of swords, 7 of cups. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. This card here, 7 of cups, because it is a wizard. So some people might actually see you as like a wizard of some kind, and that's quite interesting. Like, people might also see you as like a Potterhead, like that you are very into Harry Potter. Maybe you make a lot of Harry Potter references all the time, and or something like that. But it could also be that you are maybe reading some occult, some books about the occult or about magic. Maybe Aleister Crowley, something, I don't know. Alan Watts, Joseph Campbell too. You might read some books that not many people are familiar with. So that was also kind of what I was getting with like the Six of Cups here, because Six of Cups usually is about familiarity, and when it's reversed, I would interpret it as unfamiliarity. And there's a book here, and so I think you might simply read some books that people aren't familiar with. You might also read a language, as I said before, that people aren't familiar with, like maybe Aramaic, or probably Aramaic, or Latin. Well, people are familiar with Latin, but Egyptian too, and what's it called? There's a I don't remember. It starts with an S. I don't remember, but it's not important. But this could also be referring to some of you might be Freemasons. That's interesting. But of course, only the males of you, and there are probably not very many males. But if there is like a male in this group, I think there might be some Freemasonry there. And well, I have met females who work for the Freemasons as like waitresses, and servants, not servants, but like those who are like, I don't remember, like receptionists, and so maybe like you are a female who has a job in the Freemasons. I don't know, but I'm sorry. But with this, there's also something with this Six of Cups reversed here about you might be a bookworm, but you might feel like you're not really reading as much as you want to be. And like, I think because this card here is like, has a big picture of someone who actually is like, has a book in the hand here, people see you still as this bookworm, even if you feel like you're not really reading anything at the moment, and you're not reading as much as you should be or something. Maybe some of you have like built up your identity on the fact that you are a bookworm, and so like if you're in a period right now where you just can't seem to find the time to read, then you might feel like you've lost a bit of your personality or something. But I definitely think people still see you as a bookworm. There might also be something about maybe you working at a library, or something with books, book salesman, maybe like old books that are being like, but you might, this might be the job you have new, have right now, like you might have like something where like you work with books as like antiquities, like where you sell old books, but you might not feel like this is your destiny, like you feel like you should be doing something else, but I do feel like other people might see you as someone who's actually good at what you do, and that you should keep on doing it or something. I don't know. This person is also a priest or a pope, but I'll interpret it as a priest. I think people see you as like a priest, or that you're maybe studying to become a priest. It's very specific, like, but it's a vibe I'm getting. Some people might also see you as a bit too holy or a bit too sanctimonious, but I don't know. But like 4 of coins here, I think people might see you as someone who is, like, if you look at the picture here, like, people might see you as someone who is like trading in all these treasures, these achievements, these trophies, and you're trading them in for these fruits, and these fruits are just going to rot, and like they can decay, like fruit will not last forever. So maybe some of you have recently made a choice to drop out of school to pursue some dream, and people might feel like you are throwing all these great achievements away for something that might not even work out. So maybe if you've been in college, you might have gotten like straight A's, but then you chose to drop out, or maybe you are thinking about dropping out, and maybe people are just not being very supportive of this decision at all, like, because they feel like you are trading in something safe for something that is unsafe. But they don't see that, like, it might be a big risk, but with great risk comes great rewards, and sometimes it's not about like taking the safe route. Sometimes you need to sometimes you need to take some risks in life, and like you can always pick this up later on. Like, I think you should go for it. Like, if this resonates with you in any way, like I feel like you should follow your dreams, even whatever it might be. Do that. There's a reason why it's your dream. Like, so, but yeah, that's all I have for you, group number 6. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye.